I got to get stuff. and District 5, Andrea Reese. We also have city staff here with us. There is a quorum present, so we will continue with our meeting. And at this time, I would ask that Pastor Pete, if you would, please come forward and lead us in invocation. If everyone would, please remain standing for the pledges of the flags.
Thank you, Mayor. God of all, as my Terrell friend, the late Warren Roberts, used to say, you have brought us to this day that was not promised to us. For that, we give you thanks. For these friends and loved ones, we give you thanks. For this community and its great history, we give you thanks. For our shortcomings, we ask your mercy and forgiveness. For our meeting tonight, we ask your wisdom. For our children, we ask your hope for a bright future. God, you have brought us to the banquet table. As Scripture says, neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female, neither rich nor poor. And we see this table as yours. May we see the city as yours. May we receive the grace you have poured out for us. Ankle deep, knee deep, waist deep, shoulder high, and pouring out, knowing that your grace is upon us. Because you are God of justice, may we act justly. Because you are God of compassion, may we act with compassion. And because you are a God full of hope, may we act with hope. In the name of, above all names, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor Pete, for the invocation. Next, we have our mayor and council community recognitions and events. I have several that I'd like to go through, and the first being recognition and proclamation for Davis Griffith Cox, who passed away. And there's a proclamation from the mayor of the city of Terrell. Whereas Davis Griffith Cox was born July the 24th of 1941, and whereas Davis, a fifth-generation Texan, grew up on the Griffith home place in Terrell, and whereas Davis's great-grandfather, Dr. Griffith, was a close friend of Sam Houston, who was reportedly his first patient upon his arrival in Texas, and whereas Davis received a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Texas at Austin, and whereas Davis received his Master of Fine Arts at Boston University, and whereas Davis received his doctorate in fine arts from the Universidad de las Americas, and whereas Davis served as a professor and division chairman at many universities, including Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, where his ancestors had settled during the Civil War, and whereas during his early career, Davis taught painting, sculpture, art, and architecture, whereas in his later years, Davis was hired as a consultant and decorator, particularly for historic renovation projects in Terrell, and whereas Davis was a public speaker and an author of 3 books, and whereas Davis was most proud of his roles as founder, president, and CEO of Griffith Home Place Museum and curator of the historic Griffith Collection, projects encompassing many historical and ancestral heirlooms, and whereas Davis was a longtime member of our Merciful Savior Episcopal Church in Kaufman, and whereas Davis is survived by his sons Lawrence and Jefferson, as well as many other special friends, family members, and colleagues, now therefore I, by the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the Terrell City Council, do hereby proclaim May 16th, 2023 as Davis Griffith Cox Day in the city of Terrell, and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing the contributions of this late community icon. In witness whereof I have here unto set my hand and cause the corporate seal of the city of Terrell, Texas, to be affixed this May 16th of 2023. Allison, if you would please come forward. There you go. And I think there's someone here that's going to get that. Okay. Also, we are going to recognize our mental health institution. Right? Is there someone with the state hospital? If you would please come forward, Reagan. Again, this is from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Terrell. It's a proclamation. Whereas mental health is part of everyone's overall health and well-being, and mental illness are prevalent in our county, state, and nation, with 1 of 5 adults and teens experiencing a mental health issue every year. And whereas all of our residents face challenges in life that have the potential to impact mental health, and whereas while mental illness treatment can be successful, 60% of adults nationwide do not receive the treatment necessary for their mental health. And whereas nearly half of those incarcerated suffer from a mental health concern, and furthermore, 10 to 25% of those have a serious and persistent mental illness and or co-occurring disorders. And whereas with effective treatment, individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas businesses, schools, government agencies, healthcare providers, organizations, and citizens share the burden of mental health problems and have a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas Terrell is home to the state's second oldest mental health hospital, and whereas Terrell State Hospital has a long history of providing a broad range of mental health services to individuals across the state, now therefore I, Rick Carmona, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the Terrell City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month in the city of Terrell, and ask all citizens to join me in a nationwide effort to raise awareness of mental health illnesses, reduce the stigma and discrimination surrounding mental health, and to increase awareness of tools and resources to prevent such challenges and promote recovery. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the corporate seal of the city of Terrell, Texas, to be affixed this the 16th day of May of 2023. Again, thank you for all the work that the State Hospital does.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
I was hoping you would say that. And so we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Thursday, right?
Thursday night, yes, sir.
There's a challenge that's been made from the State Hospital to the City of Terrell in a softball game. We're going to have a friendly competition, and
We hope it's, yeah.
it'll be friendly. What he doesn't know is my brother Fernando is going to be umpiring.
We know how that's going to go.
Thank you, sir.
Not that I would ever use that to our advantage, but he will be there.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
you don't understand, he used to be Terrell's quarterback.
I gotcha. All right. So also to our police department, we have someone with the police. Chief, would you please come forward? I have a proclamation. It's again from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Terrell. Yes, bring them in. Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to say anything before? No? Okay. Gentlemen, let me start out by saying thank you to the service you provide to our citizens and to the City of Terrell. I have a proclamation. It is, again, from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Terrell. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Terrell Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there are currently 23,785 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including 2 members of the Terrell Police Department. And whereas the names of these individuals, dedicated public servants, are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 556 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 224 officers killed in 2022 and 332 officers killed in previous years. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 35th Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th of 2023. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of a National Police Week, which will be observed this year, May the 14th through the 20th, whereas May the 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Now, therefore, I, Rick Carmona, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the Terrell City Council, do hereby proclaim May the 14th through the 20th as National Police Week in the city of Terrell, and ask all citizens to join me in publicly saluting the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the corporate seal of the city of Terrell, Texas, to be affixed this, the 16th day of May of 2023. Gentlemen, thank you for your hard work and dedication to the city. Council, if you would please come forward for a photo. We can give them a hand. In addition to the proclamation, we have coins. Coins for each one of them. There are fiscal centennial, 1873 to 2023, celebrating 150 years, and then it has a badge on the back side. Thank you very much. So, I would say, if you don't get, y'all can challenge you for, no. Just don't do that, but we will get those who we didn't get a coin, so. Can we get ready? Squeeze it.
Stop. There we go.
It's so hard.
Okay, I'm not saying that I saved the best for last, but this individual, and I think we all know who he is. In the last 4 years, it's rare that I attend an event somewhere in this community and Pastor Pete not be there. So with that said, I'd like to recognize Pastor Pete. If you would please come forward. Pastor Pete has been leading the congregation at First United Methodist Church since 2017, when North Texas Conference Bishop Mike McGee appointed him to First United Methodist Church in Terrell. After Pete and his wife Darius moved to Terrell, he wasted no time immersing himself in the community, getting involved in almost immediately in Kiwanis Club, the Terrell Action Committee, and the Terrell Ministerial Alliance, where he served as an officer and worked on plans for the National Day of Prayer and other events. Pastor Pete also is a familiar face at Burnett Elementary School, the campus where First United Methodist Church adopted through the TISD Adopt a Classroom project. First Methodist also partners with our library staff on events throughout the year, a long-standing tradition since they are such close neighbors. Pastor Pete is a living testimony to his desire to be the church beyond the walls, working with his friends and neighbors to try to find solutions to make the world a better place. He is a true Terrell cheerleader, always making an effort to come out and support our community events. Thank you for making such an impact on our community during the short time you've been here. We will miss you as you head east to Sulphur Springs to your new appointment. We know their gain is our loss, but we hope you will come back and visit. Just remember, your number one vice is just down the road, I'm told, which is the peach ice cream and the ham orchard. So with that, on behalf of the mayor and the city council and all of our residents here at the city of Terrell, congratulations on your new appointment. You will be missed, and know that you always have a home here in Terrell. And I have a little presentation for you as well. That you will always remember us. You also receive a coin. This is our 150-year commemorative coin.
Thank you so much.
And then if you, on your last ice cream is on the mayor.
Okay.
On the mayor and the council.
Good for one
Okay.
That's good.
So good. Well, thank you so
Blessings.
much. And if
Thank
you'd like to say a few words, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really speechless, and that's hard for a pastor to say. But I thank you, Mayor and City Council, and you, my friends, Chief McCune and others. It takes all of us together to build the kingdom of Christ in our midst. We have to live into what God called us to do. To love God with all our heart, our soul, our strength. And Jesus gave a second one, a bonus. To love your neighbor as yourself. Do that. Keep going that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Pastor Pete. Oh, yeah, I forgot to give you the cookies. I'm sorry. Those are so I try to take those home. I'm hope Allison's caught on to my trick.
Pastor, I want you to know it's a rare man who gets ice cream and cookies from the mayor. That's a rare man.
All right. And for those who came for Pastor Pete, you know, we are about to begin our council meeting. If you would like to stay, you're welcome to do so. But if you would like to, if you have time constraints and need to go, that's fine as well. Is AC on? It's hot. Yeah. What? I don't know. Do we have one more? We have one. I have one more recognition, if you would.
Mayor and Council, we have a special achievement recognition that we'd like to recognize a couple of citizens. If I could have two gentlemen come to the front, please. These read identical, so I will save us the time of reading them both. Brandon Orndorff and John Orndorff On Wednesday, February the 15th, 2023, Terrell police officers were in the area of the Terrell Chamber of Commerce attempting to apprehend a suspect who was being combative and resisting arrest. During the course of the investigation, John and Brandon witnessed the subject begin assaulting the officers and offered their assistance to detain the suspect. With their assistance, officers were able to gain control of the subject and to place him in handcuffs. Your conduct and performance has brought great credit to both you and to your community. We thank you and recognize you for your efforts. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Y'all didn't understand? I was getting whooped.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. All right, our next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. Do we have any? Hearing none. Our next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes. Discuss and consider the minutes of the regular city council meeting on May the 9th of 2023. This is item number 6. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor, a motion to approve the regular city council meeting, May 9th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please, everyone turn your mics on when you're getting ready to speak for the recording. So we have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to accept the minutes of the regular city council meeting of May the 9th of 2023 as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 7.1. Discuss and consider resolution number 2076, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, accepting the election results as certified by the Kaufman County election official and declaring the results of the joint election held on May the 6th of 2023 in Terrell, Texas, for the purpose of electing a council member for District Number 5 for a 3-year term. This is Secretary Don Stahl.
Mayor and Council, Resolution 2076 accepts the Kaufman County election returns certified by the Kaufman County election official, and this Andrea Reese received 90 votes, Clint Huey received 81 votes, and Phil Robeson got 168 votes. Therefore, none of the candidates received the majority of the vote, and therefore this resolution is also calling a special election on June 10th, 2023, that will include Andrea Reese and Phil Robeson.
Is there anything we need to add, Greg?
Basically, Mr. Mayor, City Secretary added a lot of it. We have determined that no candidate received a majority of the qualified votes in said election. We're calling a special election for the City of Terrell to be administered by the Kaufman County Elections Administrator on Saturday, June 10th, 2023, for the purpose of electing a council member for District Number 5, designating the polling places, ordering notices of election to be posted and published as prescribed by law in connection with such special election, and providing an effective date.
Okay. So this is a discuss and consider, and this would be in the form of a resolution 2076. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
cool. So, council, is there a motion on item 7.1?
Motion to approve resolution number 2076 as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve resolution number 2076. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 8.1, discuss and consider park board appointments and reappointments. This again is our City Secretary, Don Stahl.
Mayor and Council, in your packet is the Park Board roster. And Kimberly Cheney was appointed to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so she needs to be replaced. And Katie Smith has served 3 terms, and she is not eligible for reappointment. There are several applications in the packet, and one that came in this afternoon that I passed out. And this is under the oversight of Mayrani Velazquez.
Councilwoman Velazquez, what would you like to do with?
I move to appoint Charlotte Mitchell to replace Mr. Malone, and also appoint Savannah Nordstrom to replace Ms. Katie Smith. Oh, I'm so sorry, we did Malone last week. Appointing Charlotte Mitchell to replace Kimberly Cheney, and appointing Savannah Nordstrom to replace Katie Smith.
Councilwoman, is that in the form of an emotion?
Yes, it is in the form of a motion.
Okay. So who was your second appointment? I'm sorry, your first one was,
The first appointed, I move to appoint Charlotte Mitchell
okay,
to replace Kimberly Cheney,
okay.
and Savannah Nordstrom to replace Katie Smith as Park Board members.
Okay. Council, there is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayrani Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas to appoint, to replace and appoint new representatives for the Park Board. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 8.2, discuss and consider Planning and Zoning Commission appointments. Again, this is City Secretary Don Stahl.
Mayor and council, the planning and zoning roster is in your packet. Jenny Heisel, Trini Jones, and Danny Stevens have all served 3 terms and are not eligible for reappointment. There are several applications in the packet, and this falls under Mayrani Velazquez.
Ms. Velazquez, what would you like to do on these?
I move to appoint Susan Barcella and Randy Boyd to serve as Planning and Zoning Commissioners.
Replacing
Replacing Jenny Heisel and,
There were 3 positions.
yeah, but she's only doing 2.
I think
There's
it was
3 open,
Danny
you're only,
Stevens. Danny Stevens.
so there's 3, you're gonna replace 2 at this time of the 3?
2, and the last time we replaced Trini
Shane.
Jones.
Yeah, with Kim.
Okay, cool, gotcha.
Correct.
That's right. All right. So, council, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion from Mayrani Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Andrea Reese of District 5 to replace and appoint new board members to the Planning and Zoning. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 8.3, discuss and consider zoning board of adjustments, appointments, and reappointments. This is going to be City Secretary Don Stahl.
Mayor and council, the zoning board of adjustments rosters in your packet. Carolyn Fairley, her position needs to be replaced. She moved away, and Karen Jones has served 3 terms. She is not eligible for reappointment. And there are applications in your packet, and this falls under the oversight of Andrea Reese.
Councilwoman, is there, you have an appointment?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
I would like to appoint Claudia Frausto to replace Karen Jones. And Claudia happens to be here tonight, and I would like for all of you to say hi to her. We're very excited to have her as a part of the board. So I'd like to make that motion to appoint her, and we'll continue looking for the replacement for Carolyn Fairley.
Okay, so there's one appointment. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 4. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I just, would like to continue to encourage those that have participated in TCU or the police academy, just like Claudia did, and those that are, although they may not have participated in those opportunities, but wish to get involved by serving on a park, a zoning and planning, or some sort of other, one of our other boards, to encourage them to apply, and they can always go to the website or come see Don Stout to fill out a application in person.
Cool. Anyone else? So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 9.1.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, item 9.1, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2069, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting a policy to encourage best practices in school sitting and emphasizing the development of safe, efficient routes to schools, especially using non-motorized trips.
This is Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, I'm happy to present to you another in our series of the Regional Transportation Council Policy Bundle. These are the group that were suggested by the Regional Transportation Council. As you know, they're sort of the gatekeeper for a very large amount of state and federal gas tax dollars. And one of the things that they've started to do is to say, well, if we're going to provide a Safe Routes to School grant for you, we sure would like to know that you've got a certain number of policies in place and types of policies in place, and this is one of that package. With many, many people moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think our talking point here recently has been that 11,000 new people move to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex every day. And so we're adding more than 1 million people per decade. That means a lot of new elementary schools. And I think that one of our stats here is that we have something on the average of 21 new schools opening every year in the Dallas-Fort Worth region. We know that Terrell Independent School District will be one of those. We've got a development partnership in place with a developer who's about to do a fairly large development, and they've agreed to donate 16 acres for a elementary school site. And we're going to have more of those discussions as we have more developers come in and talk about developing large tracts of land. We want to make sure that we're coordinating with our Terrell Independent School District as they move forward. So this gives us a policy to guide that and direct that. It's really geared at first, let's avoid the bad. What's a bad thing in a school site? Well, you can drive around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and you find locations where, for some reason that nobody can quite explain, you've got a elementary school on a frontage road, or you've got a middle school on an interstate highway, and you wonder, well, who made that decision? Why did that end up there? And sometimes you see it on 6-lane arterials. Everybody's going 60 miles an hour in the morning. They get to the school zone, they all go 20 miles an hour, and then they all speed up and drive again. And I would say that that's been a frustration for the Texas Department of Transportation and for the Regional Transportation Council for a long time. If you could just get schools sited in locations where it made sense about the type of roadway they were on, then you would have a reduction in safety problems, and you wouldn't have large new roadways right there where the school is. So that's kind of the bad thing you want to avoid. The good thing you want to try to get at is, can I develop a neighborhood where people can let their kids walk to school? You know, some of us in the room here grew up walking to school in different cities, and you know, that's what I thought was normal growing up, was that you walked or you rode your bike to school, and that's just more and more rare. Sometimes it's rare because there's a distance issue or you've got a rural environment, but sometimes it's just bad city planning where you put that school in a location where it becomes nearly impossible for folks to walk. So I sent this policy over to Terrell Independent School District. I had a good conversation with Dr. Warnock and with their legal counsel, Daryl Coleman. They gave us some suggestions about wording to include here. We took all their suggestions, thought they were great ideas, and we bring it forward to you for just discussion tonight. If you're happy with it, then we'll bring it back on a future meeting for action. But this is just the first time you've seen this particular one of the policy bundle. So happy to answer any questions about that.
So, council, I would just say, by simply having the policies in place that opens up funding, these dollars are available throughout the Metroplex. Serving on the COG, I see a lot of them that come through, and it's just that the communities haven't done their due diligence in being able to apply for the funds. This is money that's taken out of our community that's going to be brought back and reinvested in our community. But in order to qualify for those grants and funds, you have to have certain criteria, and then they rank or score those municipalities, and those that score higher by having all of the policies in place, of course, they're the ones that get moved up and are eligible for the funding. So I'm glad to see that staff's moving in that direction. Does anybody have any comments for Mr. Sims?
I just have a question. So I understand that this resolution helps us in order to be able to hopefully get a grant for improving the safety of our kids. Will that include possibly redoing sidewalks, streets for existing areas around our existing schools and not just new schools going forward?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So the idea is that if your policies make sense for new or for relocated schools, then they're happy to help you go back and fix poor access to existing schools. The first two Safe Routes to School grants that we've gotten since I've been here, at least, were basically retrofits. It was retrofitting for Gilbert Willey. It was retrofitting for Burnett. It was retrofitting for Wood Elementary and for Long Elementary. So there was a set of retrofits that got paid for by some grants. We wouldn't qualify for those grants today because we don't have this policy in place. So since the last time we got one of these grants, they've introduced the policy, and my comment is we still have more sidewalks to build. We have a lot of sidewalks, and you can list every school we have, and you can go around as a parent, and you could easily find locations where we need fill-in sidewalks. And this enables us to be able to be competitive in that grant process.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to say, I know when I was growing up in the city, it's on. When I was growing up in this city, it was, stop laughing at me. I was growing up in this city, we didn't have to worry about, having safe places to walk because there wasn't a lot of traffic. You can take your time crossing the street. And I used to jog out on 148, no problem at all. But now, with the growth of the city of Turl, we're gonna need a proactive action like this. And I appreciate our city manager and our staff living in the future and actually seeing things before they happen and start formulating a process and a policy now. So I back this 100%, and I think we're on the right track.
Okay, thank you. All right, and this will come back to us
Next week.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 9.2.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight for discussion Resolution number 2071, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting a roadway safety improvement policy, identifying areas of special emphasis, designating a representative to the Regional Safety Advisory Committee, and specifying specific strategies to deploy to reduce accidents and improve overall traffic safety.
And this is our Chief Kenny McKean.
Mayor and Council, this is another step in the policy bundles.
Chief, if you would please, yeah, there you go.
Is that good? Okay.
Can you
This is another step in the policy bundles. It gives us the first opportunity to participate in a regional effort to improve roadway safety, to adopt a resolution. This will also telegraph to the region that we are serious about roadway safety. Also gives us a seat on the regional board, which will give us the ability to have input on roadway design, transportation matters. Also give us kind of a first place introduction to new technologies that may help with road design, driver distraction, drunk driving awareness, just all that gamut of things. And many of the things named in this resolution we are currently doing and have been doing. There's certainly room for improvement, but it just announces that we are moving forward as our city grows to address some of the safety issues that are going to be a concern to us.
Anybody have any questions, comments for Chief? This one, too, will be coming back to us for a vote next Tuesday? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 10.1.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight ordinance number 2982, an ordinance of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 15, Park Regulations, by the addition of a new paragraph Q, drilling, mining, and/or reopening any abandoned well or mine prohibited, and paragraph R, penalty, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing a penalty, and providing an effective date. This comes to you tonight on first reading.
This is Carnell Horn. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Council. This item was presented to you last week by Mr. Caldwell. That we stress the importance of the approval of this item for our current Texas Park and Wildlife grant and for any future grants that we go for the Texas Park and Wildlife Department.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, new questions for Mr. Horn? This is your opportunity to throw Glenn under the bus, you know.
No, sir, I'm not going to do that.
For the
not here.
record, Glenn has an excused absence. So
I know
Glenn-
that, but I was going to see what Carnell had.
And listen, also just for clarity, somebody might look at this and say, what in the world are we doing here? Because you're talking about drilling and mining and city parks. We always thought it was so obvious that drilling and mining would never be allowed, that it never got put in an ordinance. And one of the things the Texas Parks and Wildlife wants to do is to make sure that we don't just agree with them, that it would be insane to drill and mine in your park, but it's also, you have an ordinance saying, no, you can't do that. So it's another one of these grant button-up things to make sure that we are of compliance.
Okay. Anybody have any question? Hearing none, is there a motion on ordinance 2982?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2982.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to approve ordinance number 2982 as presented. Is there any further discussion?
No, I think for this ordinance and most of the ones we'll see in this section of business items, y'all did a good job in answering all the questions I had, last week.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.2.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, item 10.2 is to discuss and consider city council approval of surplus items for auction.
Again, this will be handled by Carnell Horn.
As you well know, Council, for this particular item, we get really excited. We have several items that will be for surplus so that we can capture the remaining value of their items. And for public auction with our partner Longshot Auctioneers, with your permission, staff recommendation for this item is to approve the surplus item as listed.
So you have 25 items that you would like to, is it just the 25?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments, questions? It's an online auction.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion on ordinance 2982? No, sorry. This is a approval of the surplus items for auction, 25 lots.
Motion to approve the surplus items for auction.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve the surplus items for auction. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.3.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2075, A resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, setting a date, time, and location for a public hearing on a proposed voluntary annexation of certain property by the City of Terrell, Texas, designated as Hoodoo Land Holdings LLC annexation, as set forth on the attached Exhibit A, approving a non-annexation agreement described on Exhibit D, authorizing and directing the city secretary to publish notice of a public hearing, authorizing a description of the property to be annexed, and directing notice of the proposed voluntary annexation to be affected to the affected property owners.
This is Mr. Sims.
So, Mayor and Council, I'm going to ask Don if you would please go over to agenda item page 108, and we'll look at the visual of this thing, and then I'll take you back to the start of it and walk through it a little bit more in detail. So the visual here is, oh, there it is. Okay, so this time around we're out on the east side of town. This is north of US 80, and you can see two lakes on this map pretty easily. The one closer into the city that's close to FM 429, that's going to be the Old City Lake, and then you can see New City Lake out there as well. So as you know, we did a round of annexation public hearings March 20th. When we did that, we included an area called 2023P. 2023P included 900 acres of the land that we're looking at here, and all of that was eligible for an agricultural non-annexation agreement. When the landowner received that notification, we started immediately talking about a topic which had come up several years ago, which was whether or not the landowner would want to annex 1-foot strips around the property instead of annexing or doing an agricultural non-annexation agreement on portions of the property. So you can see how, you know, a major landowner might want to say, well, I'd rather treat all of my property the same rather than just some of my property being treated one way and other parts of my property being treated another way. So it took us a while to go through mapping and you know, rework all of this. Basically, you can see here that there's two zones. One is the 1-foot strip that goes around the area that's on the part that abuts to US 80. And then it goes around over to FM 429, and again, it's a 1-foot strip around the land that's owned by Hunt Petroleum Oil that stretches from US 80 to 429. That's the first of the two 1-foot strips. That one actually includes a chunk of acreage that notches in right next to being the major way that the water comes off of that land and goes into Old City Lake. And we felt like it was important for the city to go ahead and get that fully annexed. The landowner was happy to include that in the voluntary annexation. The other chunk of that goes from FM 429. It's just a little bit north of County Road 319 and a little bit south of County Road 323. And that's another chunk of land that, again, under the interest of trying to treat all of the Hunt Petroleum land that's on this side of State Highway 34, trying to treat all that the same, the landowner did request that they do a voluntary annexation. So that's kind of a review about what the map says. If you go back over to agenda item page 71, I'll give you the format of what we're looking at here. The first step in any annexation is setting a public hearing so that you can get comments from the public about it. In this particular case, it's a voluntary petition. This is an item signed by the landowner at this time saying, hey, this is what we'd like to do. And in order to accept the petition, that's a step that we've done because we've received it, so we've accepted it. And then the question is, will the City Council like to pass an ordinance that matches the petition? So the first step in that is the resolution. That's 2075. It's fairly straightforward. It tells you that on Tuesday, June the 13th at 6 p.m., there'll be a public hearing here in our City Council chambers to receive any public comments on this voluntary annexation by Hunt Petroleum Oil. And then if you flip a couple of pages, agenda item page 73 has the actual wording of the notice of public hearing, and that will be, included there. And then if you go to the next page, you've got the petition for voluntary annexation regarding services and non-annexation agreement. So it's a complicated one. So the first part of this is just sort of laying out the different sections and establishing which area is which. The first part of this is you're going to see Tract 1 is .832 acres, and then Tract 2 is 58 acres. That's because they're 1-foot strips, and then the chunk down there next to Old City Lake. So that's the first part of it. It's a request to extend the municipal limits to include that. And then it's got annexation disclosures in it. That's the Exhibit B. And then it's got municipal services listing on Exhibit C. And then Exhibit D is the one where we get complicated, because that's the one where we're also being asked to accept a voluntary agricultural non-annexation agreements for larger chunks of land. The first chunk of land being 1,177 acres, the second chunk of land being 2,084 acres, and the Exhibit D setting the conditions for that. So I won't go through all those conditions, but they did have some requests about what they wanted to include in there. It's basically our standard agricultural non-annexation agreement, with the exceptions that there's a list of things that are prohibited uses on the property. You can go find that in there. Might take me a minute to flip to it, but it's page 98. There's a whole list of things that they covet that they'll want to do on that property in perpetuity, and you can kind of see what that list was. And then you will also find that in exchange for the request, there'd be a 1-foot strip, and instead of being 900 acres, it'd be for over 3,000 acres. They did request 45 years as their amount of time to be under an agricultural non-annexation agreement. So all that would be the topic. Tonight's question isn't whether or not to accept the petition. Tonight's decision is just, should you have a public hearing on this topic? And that's where I'll leave you, back on page 71 of Resolution 2075.
But the process, the beginning process, is to have the public hearing.
Yes, sir. The state law requirement here is
Yeah.
have a
So-
public
so
hearing.
in
When you-
order-
when you get the petition, you have a public hearing. We just always bring it to you guys to officially set the date and time of the public hearing.
And to be clear, this is a voluntary, it's a voluntary annexation from the petition was given to the, I saw where it was to the mayor and the city council. Who do they petition?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it says to the mayor and city council
All right.
of the city of Terrell, Texas.
All right. Yes, exactly, asking to be annexed. Does anybody have any questions on this item? Again, this is Resolution 2075. Is there a motion on Resolution 2075?
Yes, Mayor, a motion to approve Resolution 2075.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.4.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight, on second reading, ordinance number 2980, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, establishing a scrap tire program, creating a licensing and permitting process, providing for the proper transportation, storage, and disposal of tires to minimize environmental impact, make certain findings, and other matters related thereto. And again, this comes to you tonight on second reading.
Mr. Godwin, John Godwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, this is a process that Mr. Sims talked about last week. It requires licensing, permitting for folks that are disposing of scrap tires. Scrap tires can be a part of a tire or a whole tire, but it's no longer for use as a tire. It establishes certain standards for storage because tires can be really problematic with mosquitoes. They can be problems with leaching into the soils and so forth. There's certain standards about that, where and how you can store them. There's also those things in state law, and so this also requires people to comply with the TECQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. It also has standards for transporting, how you transport those, and as Mr. Sims said last week too. Ultimately, if those tires turn up somewhere out in the woods, it gives us a much better chance of tracking those down and holding people responsible, and that's a huge, huge problem for tires all over the country, unfortunately.
Okay, does anybody have any new questions for Mr. Godwin? Hearing none, is there a motion on item 10.4?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2980.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve ordinance number 2980 on second reading. Is there any further discussion?
I just have a quick, I guess, question to see if we can do this. When we were discussing this last week, we talked about that the fee for the people who have the tires would be probably $50 to $100. And I would like to see us, either amend this or make another kind of ruling on not to exceed $50 on those fees.
Well, just for clarity, I think last week we didn't have it stated in the ordinance correctly, and this time around we did make that correction. So it has that number specifically listed in it. We would only be authorized to charge that very dollar amount. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And this doesn't affect the services that we have for our community members when we have our cleanups and stuff. This is just basically people that have tire shops and things like that.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Hearing none. All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So there was, did I read the motion? There was a motion by Grady Simpson, District 2. No, a motion by Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, right? And a second from Grady Simpson, District 2.
correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I just want to make sure that we had the record correct. And a unanimous vote. So that passes with the unanimous vote of those present. Next item on the agenda is 10.5.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight, again on second reading, ordinance number 2981, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, implementing a plan to actively manage the city's multimodal transportation assets, establish means by which to monitor and methodically fund these vital assets, enhance transportation safety, and ensure efficient connectivity. Again, comes to you on second reading.
John Godwin.
Thank you. So as I mentioned last week, capital infrastructure is usually one of the biggest expenses that any city or state government has, or at least certainly municipal governments. But it's also notoriously one of those that people underspend because they ignore depreciation. And you're very fortunate in that Terrell has a staff that gets that, and so you're doing a lot more than most cities frankly do. You have an automated system that evaluates paving quality and so forth, and so that helps you making budget decisions. This codifies that. It also adds that we'll do more specifically work on evaluating routinely, biennially, sidewalks, bridges, and drainage infrastructure and so forth, culverts, so that everything is given its proper attention and the city proactively and actively manages its assets. Again, most cities don't do that very well. It's usually end of the line, so you're to be commended for that, but it's always a challenge. It's something that you have to be careful that you don't get into your budget cycle and cut it short. And so this resolution will encourage, councils, future councils to do it the right way, as you already are.
Okay. Anyone have any new question?
Yes, one thing I like to say is, a lot for the mayor and the council and staff to consider is, Southwestern Christian College have students walking all over the place, going across the street to the store and what have you. And when we think about connectivity, I like for us to, to keep them in mind as well.
There is a crosswalk that's planned for that general area. I don't know if it's that block or 2 blocks away, and there's another one on the drawing board.
Yeah, this is, listen, sometimes you go to bat and you win, sometimes you don't. So we've been trying to encourage TxDOT to install traffic lights at Bowser and at Bradshaw for many years. And we fairly recently were able to get the one at Bradshaw. We're still working on the one on Bowser. As Mr. Godwin mentioned, there is a plan to rework that intersection at Bowser, so we're very mindful of that. And absolutely, you've got our commitment. We're going to continue to look for ways to make improvements right in that zone. I agree with you. We've had more than one near. Frankly, you just have to say we've had more than one near fatality out there because the pedestrian crossing, it's on that hill. It's a little bit hard to see from a sight distance standpoint. So we're going to keep working on that Bowser intersection. Yes, sir.
Thanks so much.
So this is in the form of ordinance number 2981. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor, motion to approve ordinance 2981.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to approve ordinance number 2981 on second reading. Is there any further discussion?
Just want to note that this was an item that was moved from a resolution to a ordinance per council's last discussion.
I'm sorry, you said you weren't going to ask any questions, and so there's no takebacks.
Y'all did answer all my questions last week. I was just notating that, but thank you, John.
So we do have a
Hard time
motion and
today.
we do have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.6.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight ordinance number 2983, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, creating a city policy to establish equitable transportation decision-making and taking proactive measures to avoid creating disproportionate benefits or damages, making certain findings and other matters related thereto. And this, I believe, comes to you tonight on first reading.
This is Mr. Godwin.
Thank you again. This is an item that presented last week. At that point, the city council instructed us to convert it into an ordinance, which is what we have before us. There is on page 113, item number 9, city secretary can correct this, I hope. I left the word resolution in there one time where it's supposed to be an ordinance, but everything else has been changed correctly. But the point of this, of course, is that equity is really important, and sometimes, not usually on purpose, but inadvertently, the benefits can be unfairly distributed, and the negative aspects of transportation. All of these policies are transportation related. Transportation issues can be inequitable as well, and so it's really important that equity be a conscious decision. As I mentioned last week, it doesn't mean that you get something just because of you're trying to address equity, but it's got to be part of the decision-making process. Can we afford it? Is it equitable? Is it right? It's just one more factor that by codifying it, you require yourselves to consider it each time you make a major transportation decision. So that's where we are this evening.
Anybody have any more comments, questions for Mr. Godwin? Oh, is there a motion on ordinance number 2983?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2983.
There's a, sorry. It was kind of funny because we just talked about making it a ordinance versus a resolution. Wasn't that your request? Her request too, wasn't it? You think I was going to let that go by me, right?
I think Stephanie wanted it too.
I'm just picking on me, right? I'm just picking on. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so everybody seconds. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to go to your right and say that we have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Stephanie Holmes Thomas, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 4. Any further discussion? I will note that I think that's the first ordinance that I've had everybody want a second. So, Mayor Ronnie, kudos to you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.7.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2070, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting a policy to promote a more efficient local transportation system by emphasizing street connectivity in subdivision development, thereby encouraging shorter trip lengths and fewer motorized vehicle trips, facilitating pedestrian and bike travel, and planning for more efficient use of land.
All right. Again, Mr. Godwin.
I won't go through my speech from last week, but this has to do with shorter blocks, more connectivity, neighborhoods connecting to neighborhoods, kids being able to walk to their friend's house, to walk to school, ride their bikes. What we tried in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s was really cool for what they were after, but it just didn't work. We lost a lot of that. It also created longer trips, longer trip lengths. The longer the trips are, the more likely you are to congest the air, the more likely you are to have a wreck. So shorter trips, shorter blocks, smaller blocks, more intersections, ironically, is actually safer, especially for people on bikes and walking, and people with disabilities, wheelchairs or crutches or whatever else that they're having to use too. So it's very important to have those things, so that's what this is about.
Okay, any new questions for Mr. Godwin? All right, is there a motion on resolution number 2070?
Motion to approve resolution 2070.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Mayrani Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to approve resolution number 2070 as presented. Any further discussion?
I just want to say, I'm really excited about this. I like the idea of people being able to ride bikes, and I have a tricycle. I want to ride my tricycle. So I'm really excited about having this where we can do that and be safer while we're doing it.
Anyone else? All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.8.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2072, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, establishing a freight-oriented development policy to minimize the potential for negative effects of such developments and their operations on nearby residential areas, traffic congestion, parking, and air quality.
Mr. Godwin.
This is a really easy one. This is, comes down to, we want trucks because trucks are business, trucks generate business, they serve businesses, but we don't want trucks to have a negative impact on neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are super important. That's part of your community that you can't replace. So it comes down to three things. You try to protect those neighborhoods with putting appropriate land uses next door to high traffic, high truck serving places. You put restrictions on those trucks, how they can idle, where they have to park, get them off the roads, get them out of the way. Not in a negative way, but they don't need to be parked out in the street. That's also an air quality issue. And then finally, in some cases, we even build roads or require developers to build roads. The example I gave last week was the North Spur development over there. They're actually building another backage road parallel to Highway 80 so that when they have industrial property, the truck traffic will not go through neighborhoods. It will not affect those people in a negative way. So that's what this is about, is making sure we honor the truck traffic and make sure it goes well and efficiently for their purposes, but in the process, it doesn't damage neighborhoods.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor. I guess one of my main concerns when it comes to trucks is how the trucks go through down, the 18-wheelers going through the middle of downtown. And those trucks are simply just going through downtown to get somewhere else, and I hate for that to be a consistent route for big trucks, in the future. If we can have a way to circumvent those trucks,
Yeah,
redirect them
and I'm not the expert on this, obviously, but there is a truck route ordinance that you have in place, Terrell has in place now. One of the things you have to do to really enforce that is you have to have signage up. That's a challenge sometimes, especially because
that usually don't work.
A lot of your major roads are TxDOT roads, and they have to approve your signage. They can all be so big, and I could go on because I went through this in another city, and it took us several years. But yeah, that's a big deal. And of course, you've got Highway 80 going through your middle of your downtown, and that's just a beating.
I think it's a way to do it. We just have to
absolutely
get our brains wrapped around it.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Again, this is resolution 2072. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 2072.
Motion, is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion from Mayrani Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve resolution 2072. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.9.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2073, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, creating a policy to guide the use of uncrewed aircraft system, drones, to identify new uses to promote efficiency and at the same time ensure safety and coordination and to cooperate with other jurisdictions and agencies.
All right, Mr. Godwin.
So there's three parts to this. One is that it encourages city to use drones, UASs, as a city, police, fire, building inspections, construction inspections, and so forth. A lot of that you're already doing. To coordinate with people who do or will begin soon to make deliveries in the city so that you visit with them, so that reduces the incidence of issues. And then also to join the North Central Texas Council of Governments group. And so the city manager will designate someone to be the city's representative in that group. And so that gives you the opportunity to take advantage of the assets and the resources that COG has.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Godwin? Hearing none, is there a motion on Resolution 2073?
Motion to approve resolution number 2073 as presented.
Motion, is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve a resolution number 2073 as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.10.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight resolution number 2074, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting a policy to improve air quality, decrease the presence of illegally inspected and improperly registered motor vehicles operating on public roadways, and to cooperate with other jurisdictions.
Okay, Mr. Godwin.
This is another air quality issue, the big air quality issue. You have some things in place, especially that are directed towards trucks, the idling ordinances and parking ordinances and so forth for trucks. The new part of this is addressing cars, and there's two parts of that specifically. One is the having cars take emissions tests for somebody else's car. That's called clean plugging or clean scanning. You put a well-operating car in there, swap the numbers around, and that's a real source of NOx in all over DFW. And then also bad tags, and of course, state legislature's been dealing with that, and you've seen that in the news an awful lot. If you watch the news at all, people are using. It's pretty easy to generate your own paper tag nowadays, put it on your car, and so there's just thousands and thousands of those that are illegal. When that happens, besides the fact that the state's not getting their money, those cars aren't being inspected either. And so that's just two sources that we hope the police will be able to work with. And there's the regional emissions enforcement program. I wrote it down this time because last time I got confused. The regional emissions enforcement program, REAP. And so there's resources there that the city can take advantage of.
Okay. Anybody have any comments, questions on that? For Mr. Godwin. All right, is there a motion on item 10.10? Resolution number 2074.
Yes, Mayor, motion to approve resolution number 2074.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to approve resolution 2074 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous.
If I could just real quickly, just as an editorial comment, you guys are doing these resolutions and ordinances because we're after money,
Yes.
but they're all really good things too. So that you're to be commended for doing really good stuff that a lot of other cities are doing. And thank you for being a good sport when I teach you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. Greg?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight on second reading ordinance number 2979, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, granting a specific use permit under the provisions of Section 31B, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell to Terrell G&B Ventures, allowing an exception to the provisions of Section 30, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell for certain property located at 1880 Westmore Avenue, the same also being known as Lot 1, Block A, Terrell Original, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, by permitting a smoke shop and CBD location on said property, currently zoned as Light Industrial, LI, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date, SUP 23-04. And for the record, Mr. Mayor, given that this particular ordinance was rejected by the P&Z. I know in our first reading, we had a 3/4 vote necessary to overrule it. It would require a 3/4 vote on this particular occasion.
All right. Okay, is there a motion on ordinance number 2979, second reading?
Yes, Mayor, motion to approve ordinance 2979.
Is there a second? It's on the consent.
By three-fourths vote.
Well, no, what would
We
happen?
did that on the first reading.
Yeah.
No, we will still need the three-fourths vote to overturn it.
Whoa.
So let's
What is
slow
the
down.
ordinance number 2979 gives them the authority to operate? Yes?
It does.
Yes.
And we passed that against the recommendation of the planning
Exactly.
and zoning by three-quarter vote.
By three-fourths
So if
vote.
we approve it again,
If,
no, we wrote the ordinance to give them the to
P and Z opposed. it.
provide.
The council overruled the P and Z by three-fourths vote. So we would require a three-fourths vote on the second reading as well.
To move forward with it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Mayor, you just want to restate all of your
Yes.
motion and?
yes, I will.
Do I need to clarify anything?
No, it's to issue, it's granting a specific use permit under the provisions of 31B, right, subsection 31B, Appendix 2 of the zoning ordinance for the city of Terrell. So there was a motion to approve ordinance number 2979. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by Grady Simpson, District 2, and a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to approve ordinance number 2979 on second reading, an ordinance granting a specific use permit under the provisions of subsection 31B, Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the city of Terrell, Texas, to Terrell G&B Ventures, allowing an exception for the provisions of Section 30. So this would give them the opportunity to operate.
That's correct.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is item 12, adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.071, consultations with attorney. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. Section 551.072, personnel matters. Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. We are now in executive session. At this time, we will reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. Are there any motions? Hearing none, we are adjourned.